Hello traders, Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com on November the 22nd. In this video we'll cover the indices which all did quite well, as you can see last week. Tick and Tick-Q both are moving higher for the New York Stock Exchange Composite and the NASDAQ Composite. NYSE and NASI for both the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ barely positive on Friday. Breadth, we had an MAD on Wednesday. The New York Stock Exchange high-low is 25.13. We want to see that back above 50, expanding new highs when that occurs, and that would be more bullish than it is currently. CPC is in a neutral zone. Currencies, US dollar is near highs, the 2015 high. Yen is near the yearly lows. MACD and STO are both bullish in that case. TLT daily and weekly aren't any higher than we saw back in 2011 summer for the weekly. Commodities, crude oil continues to descend in a pattern, and prices below the 10E and the 50 MA. Copper and gold are at lows. Sectors, they're all bullish except for XLE and XLP, which are both below their 20 EMA. So we'll have to keep an eye on those two. We'll look at some IBD50 observations and setups using the 10E STO MACD setup. Here is the S&P 500, which, as you can tell, had quite a week. We had a huge week down previously, and now we reversed back to those levels. Note that back in December 2014, we had a very similar candle down starting on December 5th. Then we had this reversal, and then the next week was up, and then we moved lower back to those lows again. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but something to consider that happened just recently in December of 2014. If we shift gears and look at the daily chart, we have these highs back in July, again in October, November, and presently we haven't made it back up to the upper Bollinger Band or an extension of this trend line. We saw a reversal candle on Friday, though it did close positive. So we'll be monitoring this very closely. Note where the 10 EMA is, and the other MA is just below price. Volume was slightly lower than what we saw during the week and the previous week, and STO is in the red zone. MACD is back above the zero line, and we'll be watching this histogram on the S&P as we proceed through the week, along with up-down volume as we talked about over the weekend. I have a very similar situation. Connect the highs here. We have this upper Bollinger Band. We had a spinning top on Friday, a spinning top on Thursday, very bullish action Monday and Wednesday, of course. So we'll be watching price action and volume with the same setup that we saw on the S&P 500 occurring on the NASDAQ. We're in the overextended zone here, the red zone on STO. So just keep that in mind going into the week. Note where volume by price bands are and where potential resistance is. We're treading water right at the top of this level at the present time. We're keeping an eye on IWM as well. We're above this volume by price level, trying to get into this Kirby and push higher. We got resistance at the 130 EMA. That's 6 months duration. Lower volume, though positive, and we're in the red zone again on STO. MACD is below the zero line on the short duration, however, so we'll watch this going into the week. And the industrials giving us the same sort of look. We're right at this trend line right now, and we got rejected on that on Friday. Just keep in mind that is only 30 stocks in the industrials, so you need to keep that in mind and not place too much importance on the Dow Industrials. Looking at our indicators for a minute, we have tick cumulative continues to move higher as prices move higher as well. This is the S&P 500 inside the Bollinger Bands. Let's take a look at tick Q, which is telling us pretty much the same information. We had a crossover and moving higher as well. Looking at trend, the ARMS index for the week, starting on the 16th, we spent a great deal of time in the red zone where a lot of selling was occurring inside of price action. You can see where we finished on Friday. We pushed higher. Up-down volume was about 4 to 1, I believe, at the open on Friday, and continued to progressively get lower and lower through the day, and finally went negative, succumbing to this selling volume beneath the surface. We can see the same thing on Thursday. Prices moved sideways, not much action. Trend stayed elevated. We had a nice day on Wednesday. You can see trend had dropped down to some really nice lows here, and we had up-down volume, finished the day at 9 to 1. Tuesday was another day where trend was pretty elevated and price action continued to move lower. We had basically 1.5 negative up-down volume, so we really didn't have a lot of progress there, although we did have a pullback nonetheless. Monday was a better day. Again, we see trend drop lower throughout the day, and up-down volume started about 2.5 to 1 and progressively got better through the day, finishing around 6 to 1 on Monday. Here is a chart of the New York Stock Exchange Composite. Made a nice reversal here on Monday, which we pointed out to look for on the previous Friday, a week ago. We had distribution day on that on that Thursday. The following Friday, the volumes subsided somewhat, and then we had some nice accumulation on Monday and Wednesday last week. NYSE continues to turn, and we see MACD above the zero line. Here's another look at the New York Stock Exchange Composite. Here's that trend line. We're inside of this volume by price level. Note this volume bar grew quite substantially over the last few weeks. High-low continues to move lower, though it is showing a little bit of a hook down here at 25.13. You want to see this above 50 and moving higher, which indicates new highs are beating new lows. We had a spinning top, as we mentioned, on Thursday and Friday, a doji on Thursday, and price action is currently holding just above the 10-period EMA. Here is the US dollar. Near highs we saw back in early 2015 at 171. We closed at 99.62. Continue to flag here. Note the Bollinger Bands. Bollinger Bands continue to narrow. Prices above the 10 and the 20. MACD looks like it's turning lower. Histogram continues to push lower, and Stow is in the red zone. If we look at the Japanese yen, you would expect to see that trending just opposite of the US dollar, which is what we're seeing here. MACD is turning to the upside, more bullish, which would be somewhat bearish for equities. Remember back here in August when the yen spiked, that the New York Stock Exchange, the green area behind, dropped lower. Now, I'm not expecting that to happen again, but we do have to consider the fact that yen will probably strengthen here unless the US dollar continues to move higher. So keep an eye on that going into the week as currencies look to be changing directions. With currencies higher, that's going to put weight on the commodities. You can see copper here continues to move lower. Gold doesn't look much better. It is at a double bottom currently, as we can see here. So we'll keep an eye on gold. It's below all of its moving averages, and Bollinger Bands continue to expand. Stow is turning back up, as well as MACD. Both of those are below the zero line. Just consider that if you are thinking about trading gold going into the next few weeks. Taking a page out of the crude oil trend lately, we had this huge move down, obviously, in summer. We continue to see this move lower on the daily chart. This broadening pattern looks like we're going to get rejected here and move lower, as we saw on Wednesday and Friday. So if you're trading crude, just keep that in mind. Stow is moving higher. MACD is trying to turn back up, We could see sideways action, but for the most part, there's not really a trade here for us on crude oil. The same goes for TLT, which you can see back here in March, early in the year. The price action is pretty much the same place. The 200 period is flat and actually turning lower, as well as the 50. Price is just above the 10 EMA. Stow in the red zone probably will turn back down. Price will probably follow that, and MACD will more than likely turn back down. Note the MACD momentum is showing tepid energy to the upside. Here is the weekly chart, as we alluded to in the monologue, in the opening monologue. Prices are at the same level that we saw back here in 2012, 2011's off the chart here, but prices are at that same level around the 120 area, and the moving averages are turning over. MACD and Stow are pretty much sideways. Stow is in the green zone. We're not really expecting much out of bonds over the next couple of weeks. And of course, we want to look at the sectors. They all look pretty much bullish. This is the Stow 14 with a 3% D. Crossovers on all of these except for XLE, which is turning lower. Prices are below the 20 EMA. Same thing on XLP, though Stow is moving higher. We had a reversal on Friday. The rest of them are above the 20 EMA, and Stow, for the most part, can continue to move higher. So that is somewhat bullish for the week ahead. This is the new IBD50 list. We've ranked by percent change last week. You can see some of these were up over 5%. Foot Locker, CNC, NOAA, etc. Let's sort these by industry group. Look at the industrials, sectors, building materials, biotech. Banks did quite well last week. If you look at the IBD industry group ranks, this table is quite handy. It tells you which stocks and which groups are continuing to perform. At the top of the list, we have internet content 17 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and last week. And some of the others here, banks, Southwest, Southeast, both of these are doing well, and so on. We usually look at the top 10 and then correlate that with our IBD50 stocks and what's doing well, and that gives you a better sense of the odds of your, or statistical probabilities that your stock is going to continue to move higher. Okay, so let's look at the IBD50, and we'll go through these very quickly. Healthcare continues to get pummeled. Look at the weekly charts and also look at the Dow Jones Healthcare Index. I posted that this weekend. On StockTwits, we've had 3 years almost straight up, and for the last 6 months to 8 months, 6 months, we started to change trend, and we're currently in phase 4, the markdown phase. Unless that turns in the very near future, you can expect lower prices on healthcare stocks. ARM Holdings, new on the list. Acuity Brands, new on the list. New highs there. Nice Bollinger Band. Squeeze continues to expand there. Alaska Air, this had a nice break of a triangle pattern this week. Nice volume. Stow's in the red zone. Allergan, look for a possible breakout here at the 315 level, and it'll get above this volume by price band and fairly little overhead supply. Stow continues to move higher. You have a 10E Stow MACD set up there. Avago, trend line here. Watch for a breakout above that. Pop into the Kirby. Stow's overbought. MACD's above 0. Bank of Ozarks, we've been watching this one. Moving sideways. CBOE continues to break higher. CDW having a little bit of trouble here. Still in the red zone. Cal-Maine sideways for 6 months. Cambrix holding the 10 EMA. Bollinger Band's tightening, signaling we might have a break either to the upside or downside. I'm thinking upside, considering the volume by price support just below. Stow's in the red zone. Celgene not doing much, along with healthcare and XBI. Centene moving lower. Constellation brands flagging out here. Watch for a break higher if possible, although Stow is pointing down and MACD's positive. We could see Stow embed here. Just watch for volume. Bollinger Bands are trying to expand. Dicom, sideways, a little pennant there. Euronet Worldwide, moved lower down to the lower Bollinger Band in the 50 EMA. Facebook, gap and go, broke down, got stopped out. We haven't gotten back into the stock, but it is moving sideways at the same level. We'll see what happens over the next few weeks. FleetCor, back on the list, not that great. Fleetmatics, it's okay. Look for a better setup there. Foot Locker had a big move, gap and go. We'll watch this if it doesn't run into overhead resistance. Note the volume by price bars here. Nice volume. Still nearing the red zone. Looking for a better setup there on Foot Locker. Gentherm. Connect these highs. Trying to break out. Get above this volume by price band. THRM. An auto part space. Looking better. Gilead. Sideways. Grupo Financial. Breakout. Nice pennant. Connect the highs and these lows. Nice volume. MACD turning back up. Hawaiian Holdings looks like it's going to break out again. Nice consolidation. Keep an eye on this one. This was a nice trade from that October breakout. Continues to move higher. MACD's crossing back up. IPGP, the technology electronic equipment, looks like it's trying to break above this level at 91.92. Stow's in the red zone. LGI Homes, triangle pattern. Watch for a breakout. If it makes it above this volume by price band, it could be headed higher. Stow continues to move higher. MACD, 10E Stow MACD setup, but very little momentum in terms of this sideways action. Bollinger Bands are tightening. Could see a breakout in the near future. LinkedIn, gap and go, held that low. You have two pivots now, this low and this low. A breakout above this level could signal higher prices. Stow moving back up. 10E Stow MACD setup. Manhattan Associates moving sideways. Stow moving higher. MACD contributing. Monster Beverage is back. Kramer was talking a lot about this one last week. NetEase breakout. We didn't trade this one, but we did mention it. Once it made it above this volume by price bar, that you'd probably see higher prices, and that's exactly what's happened. Very little overhead supply now. 52-week highs. Noah Holdings, another one that was up over 5%, 5.13. Looks like it's going to move higher. Still in the red zone. MACD turning back up and above the zero line. O'Reilly Automotive looking okay. Paycom looking alright, sideways. Regeneron, sideways along with Celgene. Celgene was moving lower if you remember. This is actually looking a little bit better. At these highs, it's a triple top so far. Unless it breaks out, MACD and Stow look like they could turn back lower as well. SS&C, trying those highs. Signature Bank, remember Ozark and the other banks, Southwest. Southeast and Southwest are both looking pretty good. Banks XLF looks pretty decent. Keep an eye on that sector. Stow's in the red zone. Nice volume. Signet Jewelers broke down, moving lower. Skyworks back on the list. Descending pattern. If it breaks back above this trend line extended around 82, it could signal a move higher. Not until then would I be interested in trading at Smith. AO Corp, AOS, we've traded this one before, trying to break out. Got rejected on Thursday. Starbucks, little descending pattern there, could be breaking higher, holding the 50-period moving average. They keep reinventing itself and adding revenue streams. I'm not crazy about some of the things they've been talking about, but it is what it is. TL Education continues to grind higher. We saw this one weeks ago when it broke above this level and continues to move higher on that huge volume burst that we were talking about. Stow turning back up. It was a 10E Stow MACD set up there, and this thing just took off from the 38 level, 39, 38.50 breakout level. It's almost up 10 points. Tesoro looks like it could break higher. Note the Bollinger Bands are tightening. No overhead supply. Moving averages continue to move higher. Stowe's moving up. MACD's turning and is above the zero line. TSS looks like it's going to continue to move higher and break out this week. Keep an eye on this one. Stowe's in the red zone. MACD's turning up. Tractor supply, an extension of this trend line, a break above that level could be a sign that we're going to see higher prices. Gets above this volume by price band, no overhead supply at that point, and maybe test this upper Bollinger Band. Stowe's moving higher, nice volume. TransDigm, new name on the list, Aerospace TDG. Watch this one. Nice volume. Somebody's buying. Keep an eye on this one. Do some homework. Alta Salons had that break lower, moving higher, getting back up into this range, sideways range. If you connect these lows here, where it broke out, these lows and these highs, probably going to test that upper range. Still in the red zone. Visa, sideways again. Walt Disney, nice little break. Trying to fill this gap, get back up here higher. Wisdom Tree back. WETF, asset managers. Looks like they're moving higher. Above this volume by price band, this fairly cheap stock could continue to move higher. MACD and Stowe look good. YY is back. Technology. This looks kind of interesting. Tight Bollinger Bands. This could get scooting higher very quickly. Note the volume by price bars taper off somewhat, and we could get moving here. We've got the 62.91 level to deal with overhead. Stowe's moving higher. Got a 10E Stowe MACD set up, although MACD is pretty much lacking momentum. Okay, so that does it for me for the weekend. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. For you new traders, also check out our blog. You can check the address here, theclosingprint.com/CV_blog. Just note these are case sensitive. It's a Linux server. We post our thoughts and observations and possible setups for the day each day. So if you just input your email, click subscribe. We're a spam-free site. I have written a book recently for new traders to cut down on your learning curve. Just keep that in mind. We also have the premium section here. Videos which explain how we trade and also help to decrease the length of your learning curve and increase your odds of success. All of these videos are from the standpoint of a mentor-student classroom scenario, so this will help you a great deal as a new trader. Learn very quickly. If you buy the book, you get a 50% discount on all these videos. Just email me and I'll let you know what the code is for that as a thank you for buying the book. Take care. I hope this helps, and we'll talk to you on Monday.